Hey everybody, I'm Karyn Bryant here with,
Angela Overkill Hill.
and this is What
What
Had Happened
happened
Was.
was.
What
I feel like
happened?
we're always on delay.
I know. And hey, and I keep forgetting, but we gotta get the music going that my brother wrote for us. I gotta send that to you.
I keep
Gotta get
forgetting
on it.
too. I keep forgetting too. It's on both of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta get to it. I gotta get to it. Well, hey, listen. So, I got back from Vegas this morning. I was working UFC 264. We know that Connor is now. He was going in surgery today, Ange, for his ankle, for his broken leg situation. It's a lot to unpack, but I think
Yeah.
both of us kind of figured Dustin was probably going to win this fight going into it, but Connor certainly had a chance if the early rounds, right? So, what did you
Yeah.
make of it?
Well, I mean, I went back and I watched tape and I was like, you know what? I might sound like a casual, but I think Connor could do
I believe you. I
this.
thought the
So
same thing too. There were times when I was like, "Are we all writing him off too soon?"
yeah. I think Connor, I mean, aside from him being a millionaire, I think he's had a lot of bad luck recently.
Yeah,
And and with what happened in that fight, he was doing really well on the feet until Poirier was like, "All right, time to take you down, time to sit on you." And then once that happened, it was a whole nother fight. We just saw that Connor didn't really look equipped to deal with someone on Poirier's level, no matter how many times you replay that fight. And like, yeah, like towards the end, he was landing up kicks. He like was able to get up and like try to start to like get his game going again. And we saw in the Chad Mendez fight, like he had some. It kind of looked similar where he was getting sat on, he was getting outworked, out wrestled, and ground and pound, but he got back up. He
mhm.
made it out the second round, or made it out the first round, and came
Right.
back in the second and got the knockout. So I was still like, okay, yeah, that was a really bad round, but Connor's still in this fight, and then he steps back and breaks his ankle. It was really hard to watch,
Wasn't
and
it?
I do agree with Dustin Poirier's sentiment that when Connor was throwing the calf kicks himself, he landed a few in the hard spots. So when
Right.
you throw the calf kick, you wanna
Yeah.
you
Here we
wanna land
go.
on the soft spots. You wanna land the calf, or you wanna throw your shin onto the soft part of the calf.
Right.
This part,
Side of the meaty part in the back.
but
Yeah. Right.
every now and then you can miss and hit this part,
Yeah.
and when you hit the hard part, then it starts to like bruise your bone, it bruises the
Hmm.
muscle around, it can deaden your leg. So I think whatever damage Connor took while he was throwing those calf kicks, I think that might have had something to do with the fact that he was able to step back and like just not have good footing, and just all of his weight went on his ankle. It was so hard to watch. It almost looked like when somebody gets dropped off a punch and then all their weight goes onto the wrong part of their foot because their body goes the body goes limp. So I felt like there was a little delayed reaction with that foot because of how much he was attacking Dustin with it and landing a couple like right on the knee. So that's my take on it. I'm not a doctor, but I know from experience, if you kick that leg and you're not used to it, if you and someone checks it, then it hurts a lot more than someone who is used to throwing lots of leg kicks,
Yeah.
used to hitting the bag over and over again. People who chop down banana
I
trees,
was just gonna
all
say the
that
Thai
adds
fighters.
up. All that adds up to the conditioning of your shins. Someone actually hit me up about it. The name of it is Wolf's Law,
Okay.
where the more you use a muscle, the bone around it gets thicker. So like the damage and like the micro fractures and stuff that
Okay.
happens in something that is used repetitively, it gets thicker. So when I got my hand x-rayed once when I hurt my hand, the doctor showed me that this bone right here is a lot thicker than the other bones because this is the knuckle that I land with, and it's thicker than the other hand because this is my heavy hand, my strong hand.
Right.
So So long-winded, but all this being said, if you're not used to throwing leg kicks, your legs aren't going to be as conditioned and aren't going to be as able to take the pounding if it gets checked as you are if you've been throwing leg kicks all your life, all your career. Boom. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you hear about the guys over in Thailand and girls, yeah, like you said, kicking banana trees or whatever, and
Yeah.
get their legs, and so that they're immune to that. Yeah, I think to your point that it was funny because right before the fight, I'm like, everything in my body says Dustin wins this. Like everything I know tells me Dustin wins, and I was like. But freaking Conor, like, sorry, you never know. Like, you just never know. And I've been there at a bunch of his fights when that whole crap moment happened, and you're like, you know what I mean? And so there was a part of me right before it. I was like, he might knock Dustin out,
Yeah.
And then when he started quickly and started with the kicks, and you saw obviously, okay, he's taking a different approach. This is definitely a different fight. Cool. So he made some kind of adjustment anyway. Maybe he didn't make an adjustment in how to handle the leg kick, but he at least made an adjustment in his own attack, instead of only boxing or whatever. So, so that was good. At least I thought I would see something different. I do think it's interesting that Dustin admitted that he almost got caught in that choke. He said that when he went in for it, he said he would sort of give up the guillotine because that would then at least help him pass and get top position. And so then he realized, though, that the fence was closer than he thought. So he was like, I'm in it. I thought I was going to be cool. And he's like, oh, no, like, there's the fence. And now maybe I'm going to get pinned here. And like, did I just play myself? That's what he said, I guess.
Yeah.
I think is really funny. And like, because if Conor had choked him out, I'm sure that would be the most insane prop bet. I don't know what the number is on it, but Conor by submission, I'm sure would have been insane. Somebody could probably comment what that was. And so, there were these real moments of tension in the fight. Yes, it was mostly Dustin, inflicting damage, but Conor landed some up elbows from the bottom and the kicks. And like you said, was able to get up and at least show that he wasn't completely owned on the ground. But I mean, come on, he does need to get better there. If he's going to keep fighting, he does have to get better there. Because it's just, everybody's going to just try to take him down now. So he has to either get so incredible at takedown defense or get better at jiu-jitsu, like one of those two things. So
yeah, and it's such a tough thing to give him that task at that level,
right?
To get better at, because I don't know, I feel like it's unfair again to say that, because you see other people who don't have his, I guess they don't have his celebrity stats,
right?
And they'll get caught in those same positions, and we know that they're good at jiu-jitsu. We know that they're good at wrestling. We've seen tons of it. I'm trying to think of. Well,
you're just saying, what are like? Is our expectation too high for Conor? Like, we expect too much from him?
I just think that what he does works, and I think he's had a lot of bad luck. And even though he was owned on the ground in this instance, we've seen him get up against good grapplers. We've seen him hang against good grapplers. And yeah, like, that's going to be the game plan going forward for anyone who does think that they can grapple better than Conor McGregor, and anyone who doesn't think that they'll be able to knock out Conor McGregor. Like, this is going to be your game plan. Take him down. And they're going to try to fight. So when that happens, then Conor's almost always going to be on the defense. And I feel like when that happens, the best approach is to meet it with your own offense. In the same way he tried to meet the leg kick problem with his own leg kick, with his own calf kick, he could try to mix up, get some takedowns, and he changed level. He changed level once in the fight.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
Almost got like the little trip where you like
Yes.
dig your arm down and flare their leg out so you can
Yeah.
turn them. So he has been working on that stuff. But I think it is unfair to just say, oh, he has to get better at it,
Yeah.
because he's always going to be working on that if he's in fight camp, if he's training.
For sure.
And it's just at the level that he's at where he gets to pick and choose his fights. I think really what he needs to do is quit choosing people who can grapple better than
Yeah.
like it's like work some of your own offense into your game plans next time, because you can choose your fights. So
But the
pick someone who's not going to go to the ground with you, and put on some entertaining fights, because let's face it, like he's not trying to be a contender. I feel like I don't think he's trying to be a contender. I think he's trying to sell fights, and he's trying to stay relevant in the game.
yeah.
And he does a great job at it. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like at this point in his career, he's gonna get pushed only so much because he's a celebrity. He is a celebrity person. Like it's gonna be hard for him to like go to some gym and everyone's just gonna smash him, and then he's gonna have to learn how to not get smashed. Like I don't know. Dustin Poirier is elite. He's beaten everyone but Khabib. Um, yeah, he's like Poirier is just on another level when it comes to the ground game there, and he was able to show it. He was able to implement it in this fight as opposed to the last one. So yeah, I think it's just a display of how great Poirier is as opposed to how bad Conor is.
Agreed. And I'm not trying to say that he doesn't have anything there. I'm just saying that if that is the weakness, then that is the place that you gotta work on the weakness, right? Or make the strength so much stronger that the weakness doesn't ever even factor in, because the strength was so good that you kept the weakness, you know what I mean, situation from happening. So
Hidden.
yeah. But you're right. I mean, the thing is Dustin is so good, and the problem is that Conor is not going to be able to just fight a guy who's not good at grappling either, because he's only going to be fighting top people. They're only at the top because they're good at everything. So by definition, you know what I mean? It's going to be you're either fighting the incredible grappler Khabib or just a really awesome grappler. But like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the question too is, can he come back from this injury? We see Chris Weidman is on the mend pretty quickly, and which is great, but that's a real long comeback. Conor doesn't really need it now. It seems like he has that, the FU money, that his money will make money for him now, so he doesn't have to fight. And that would be such an incredible comeback, a long road. What do you come back for? Do you come back for the Nate trilogy? Because you just want to come back. If you're coming back for a money fight, but do you want to come back from all of that stuff and then potentially lose? Like, it's just a lot to ask, like, I really don't know if we'll see him fight again.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think people would welcome it if he decided to. And the Nate trilogy is actually a really enticing one for him to come back to,
Yeah.
because one, you don't have to worry about leg kicks. And he already feels like he beat him decisively in the second fight.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like it was really close. I remember when I first watched it, huge Nate Diaz fan. I was like, Nate won that, blah, blah. But then rewatching it, I feel like it was a little more fair. And it would definitely be the most interesting and probably the most competitive matchup that he could do after being out again for so long. Because, like, I think it's kind of obvious that the game is evolving without him, and people are getting better at just everything. They're getting better at avoiding getting knocked out by really good left-handed strikers. They're getting better at getting takedowns, even if they did start out as more of a striker. People are just more well-rounded nowadays. So I can't imagine Conor competing with like your boy Oliveira. Like, I can't imagine.
No, Oliveira would
competing with
submit
him
him.
at this point,
Just
because,
like, I mean, Oliveira's going to submit everybody anyway, but like, he would submit him pretty darn fast, I think. Yeah. And that's not a knock on Conor. That's how good Charles is.
yeah, he's just good, and he's been active, and he's been testing out his game plans pretty consistently, and they've been they've been good.
Yep, they work.
They've done the job. Yeah, they've done the job. So I think that's really what Conor was missing in these last two fights. He's jumping back into the game against someone who's been more active and was able to adjust a lot better than he was able to adjust
Yeah.
because both of them, they felt each other. Poirier probably went, "Hey, I could have taken this guy down." And
Yeah.
then they went and they worked on it and then he did it. And
Yeah.
it's just a testament of being active and being able to learn how to fix yourself, fix your mistakes, and go back in there with a stronger game plan next time.
Yeah.
So with Conor being out even longer, like now he's going to be at more of a disadvantage with that stuff. And Nate would be a great fight to come back to because Nate doesn't fight that often either. He's like he has FU money too. He's chilling.
Right.
He's sitting pretty on a big stack of cash. So if anything, give him more with this fight. I think he'll
Yeah.
be down. I think it'll be great, and I'd love to see it.
Me too. And I guess my only question on that would be, is it at 50 or 55 or 70, because they fought, remember last time it was at 70 and stuff. And I think that we get a better fight from them at 55, in terms of it being more technical and stuff, because they got a little sloppy because they were tired from carrying all that weight around, and so
I don't know if that happens though. Like I think maybe when you're at 55, you have to hit the road a little bit more.
that's true. But
So
your car,
maybe
so that's yeah,
yeah, so maybe that does like support your theory. Like they hit the road more, so their cardio is going to be a little better because they're doing long runs to
right.
get the weight off. Um, but at the same time, like I have my best sparring sessions when I'm heavy.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
I,
Okay.
I can move, I can hit harder. And when you have that weight cut where you're depleting yourself, even at 55, Connor was so small at 45. So
Yeah,
even at 55, he's still depleting himself. He still kind of looks like a POW, like just like some bug eyes and everything. Like his beard looks extra big because there's no skin underneath it.
yeah,
So I feel like 70. I wish all fighters would just do it, just fight at their walk around weight
yeah.
because you would have exciting fights. It's just maybe it would be harder to force them to do the cardio that comes with fighting because you don't have to worry about
You don't
cutting
think
weight.
about it as
But
much, right? And again though,
yeah,
but I would still at 70 though give Nate the cardio edge, of course, So
yeah, for sure, for sure. He has the cardio edge in like every fight
all of
though.
them.
Like,
All of them. Speaking of Nate, I was
it's
out.
not fair.
I saw Jake last night, Shields and Joe Schilling. I was out after the fights. I was with a friend, and we were over at MGM. I was in the bar, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh my god!" I hadn't seen them. Well, I mean, I saw them. I see them around. Jake and I we were up with for
Yeah.
Submission Underground and stuff like. Anyway, it was great to see them. Jake's working with Misha on her comeback fight, and I
Okay.
introduced my friend to Joe. I'm like, he's internet famous. I'm like, this is the guy that just like pieced up the dude in the whatever the other day. I know people have their feelings about that video, but anyway, I saw those guys last night, and whenever I think of the Diaz boys, I think of Jake and
Oh,
Gil
that
and those
video.
guys, because that's
Yeah.
from like back in the day. Like that's when I was not when I was first starting to cover MMA. It was around 2006, 2007. So the Strike Force stuff that I was doing, the Elite XC. Those are the guys I hung out with. You know what I mean? And like so I did a bunch of Robbie Lawler fights and stuff back then, and Scott Smith and all that. But so I've known Jake and Nate and Nick and all those guys since like 2007. So to me,
Nice.
I literally was just talking about them with the guy driving me to the airport. I was like, yeah, no, I want Nate to get all the money. Like, I want him to get totally paid.
Yeah.
Like, he's been in it for a long time. I love this kid.
Yeah.
Let him get paid. So if Conor came back for Nate, that'd be awesome. I just think it is a big ask from somebody who at this point doesn't have to fight. But but I do, wish him a speedy recovery. I mean, I know we could talk about him for a long time, but I the one thing I will say is I do wish he hadn't said some of those things in the octagon after, about Jolie
Oh yeah.
and that was not good. And Dustin was so classy about it all.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like that. That sucked. That was not good.
Yeah.
But I understand
No,
that
I agree.
I understand that the heat of the moment. I would love it if he came out and apologized. That'd be cool. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but that'd be cool.
But you know what he'll do. He will apologize to absolutely fucking no one. But Ronda Rousey actually got on the internet and made a good point. Like devil's advocate, like I don't necessarily agree, but you know, it is a good point. She said that it's like Conor is such a good businessman that immediately after the fight, he's selling the next fight. He's selling him versus Poirier 4.
But I don't think anybody's going to buy that, Angela.
Yeah, well, maybe not. But, you know, MMA fans aren't the brightest.
Except for the ones that watch our show.
About everything. They'll buy just about anything. So so that's my theory on it. I even though it's not in my taste, I do understand that it's probably more of a business decision than him actually thinking that Poirier's wife wants to slide into his DMs and, and holler. Like,
I hear you.
But, like, you know, not everyone's going to take it as a business move. Most people are going to take offense, and they definitely took offense. And yeah, you know, maybe it will persuade Poirier to sign that contract for another fight, even though he beat him twice already. Like maybe just that animosity will get him to sign the contract. But you know, it is a hard sell for sure.
It's a hard sell. Although I did see a picture on the internet. I guess somebody got a picture where Jolie is flipping Conor off while Conor's on the ground. Yeah, and she's flipping him off, and I was like, "Wow, that's quite a picture. That's quite a picture." Okay, so
beautiful.
So Gilbert Burns defeated Wonderboy Thompson in the co-main event. Kind of, you know, same thing. A lot of people expected it to kind of play out as it did. My question to you is, it did, and I love me some Dorino, but it looked like a lot of illegal shots to the back of the head. If you saw the footage, if there is a little bit of tape going around on the internet again, talking about the internet. Yeah. And but there's a lot.
That's not his job. His job is to avoid the back of the head, and if the ref tells him that he's hitting the back of the head too much, then he has to try not to hit the back of the head. I didn't hear the ref say watch the back of the head, maybe because it was loud, but did you hear? Did you hear him say watch the back of the head?
I know, and I think what happened is the first time, you know, it was just like Steven was turning, and so, you know, it just kind of landed there because he turned, but then there seemed to be several in a row. I honestly, I'm not sure if the ref warned him or not. I don't know. I don't know.
There were a lot. There were definitely a lot to the back of the head. But as a fighter, I've gotten either close to the back of the head, like around here, or on the back of the head because they turn into it and they'll go, fighter, watch the back of the head. And
you're like, I'm watching it. I'm aiming for it, bitch. No.
Yeah, exactly. No. I see it. I see that shit. No, but they'll say fighter watch the back of the head, even if you don't hit the back of the head. Usually they'll say that. So if the ref's not saying anything, he's just gonna keep punching because he's not being warned. And you're like, you expect martial artists to adhere by the rules and whatnot, but dude, if nobody's warning us, we're cheating every second we can. We're grabbing the fence, we're uppercutting people in the nuts, you know, like you're doing whatever you can to get an advantage. And if someone's trying to like come up and get to a better position, he was like coming up on Gilbert, and he had him in a good spot, and he's like, I'm not letting him go. He's just punching whatever he can, and until you get warned, that's not your job to change the direction of the punch. Like the ref always tells you in the meeting in the back of the room, I'll warn you, I'll give you one warning, and then after that, I expect you to change or move or do something so that you're not hitting the back of the head. And if the ref never does that, then it's not really, like, technically, I mean, it's kind of a dick move, but rules wise, it's not on the fighter to to make that assessment. Like, oh, I think I hit the back of the head. I'm gonna wait for him to move. Like, it's not on him. So yeah, that's on the ref. If Wonderboy has complaints or his camp has complaints, I'm sure Wonderboy doesn't have complaints because he's so like martial artisty, and he's like,
I lost. Yeah, yeah.
As a person.
Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't have complaints, but if like fans or whatever have complaints, it really is on the ref to warn the fighter so that they can adjust how they're attacking. So that's my take on it.
Yes, and I agree that if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Exactly. First person told me that was Eddie Alvarez. I'm like, oh, I like that thing.
I might have heard it from Chael at work the first time. I was like, okay.
Nice. Sounds about right.
It might have been exactly. That checks out. Yeah. Okay. So, wait. I'm sorry. I see a message. Okay. No, it's good. It's not an emergency message popping up on my computer. It was just something else. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So,
Technology.
yes, technology. So Gilbert. We know he already fought Kamaru. So I'm cool with him fighting like Colby or Leon. I'm cool with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm cool with that too.
Yeah.
I think that would be dope. I think Leon is probably getting kind of shoved aside for a thing because of that last round against Diaz. Like I feel like people just weren't excited about him to begin with, and then that little last few moments, that little slip up just stole it from him. And then Gilbert, he did a great job of promoting as well. Gilbert got on there on Twitter as soon as that fight was over, and he said, "I don't think he deserves a title shot now." He just lost his opportunity, and I feel like people listen to that. I feel like that sticks in people's head. Like, yo, you're right. Gilbert's right. Like, maybe they should fight. Maybe they should fight it out to see who deserves to fight Kamaru next. So I'm okay with that. I would love to see him fight Colby though. If Colby's like back in the game soon, I think Colby is a really technically like a really hard matchup for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think the power is there. I think it's just the volume. He throws a lot. He mixes things up a lot. He'll like go from striking to takedowns, and then like if he misses the takedown, he'll stand up and start striking again. So he really just like throws everything at you. It's just like pushes all the buttons. And it would be really fun to see if Gilbert can deal with that, and also if he can put him out. Like that would be great. But yeah, I think that would be a really fun matchup. And if Leon Edwards doesn't get the title shot, I think that would be great too. But I definitely feel like we should see Gilbert fight at least one more time before he gets that title shot again, for sure.
I think so too. So I know on Twitter somebody hit you up saying, do we think Greg Hardy should be cut? I don't think he should be cut. I mean, no. He is improving. I know whenever you talk about Greg Hardy, it's a dicey prospect with women and with people in general. So I will only talk about Greg Hardy in as much as I know him from as an athlete and from my actual interactions that I've had with him, in which he's been nothing but polite and very, very just gracious like every other. He's acted just like every other fighter, but he's also very polite. And I know other women that have said the same thing. He does work with Rashad, who's a dear friend of mine, and Rashad's kind of taken him under his wing, and Rashad says he's a good person, and I want to believe my friend, so but I get it, and I don't know Greg, and so I don't know him, so I don't know. But I don't think he should be cut yet. Heavyweight needs people. We still, the division is getting better with your Aspinalls and your, Tanner Bozers and stuff like that, right? So for a while, there was a real kind of dearth of fighters in the heavyweight division. There are better fighters there now, and there are more people. But I do still think we need a guy like Greg, and we have to remember the casuals audience, because when I was watching the fights yesterday, I had Max Kellerman sitting next to me because we were doing a lot of segments together, And I'd asked him like, "Hey Max, do you know Greg from football?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's when I knew him," and yada yada yada. And so there is that recognition that other people have of him, and that storyline is always going to be there. And I just think that that storyline and that name recognition, be it for good reasons or bad, is something that's going to be of value to the organization, where they would keep him and grow him and give him some more opportunities rather than let him go to another organization and become something there. Is my opinion on that. So I don't
Yeah.
personally think he would get cut.
No, I don't either. And I don't
Yeah.
think that he's as bad. I wanted him to be bad. But I don't, because of his past and all the controversy.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Ugh, get him out of here." But I wanted him to be bad, but I definitely don't think he is bad at fighting. And I think he's learned really fast. He's picked up the game and had a lot more success than I expected him to after seeing his first like couple of fights. So yeah, he's on a developmental contract, or he was, and he's been developing. He's been getting better, and it's almost like they like that there's a love-hate relationship with the fans. Like half the fans hate him, half the fans love him. It gives you that WWE feel where you have like the obvious hill. Like even before they fought, he's like going, as everyone's bullying him in the crowd. So he's eating it up. He's leaning into it because there's nothing he can do about it. He can't go and erase the internet history or like pay the girl to like come out and say that he's a good guy. Like he can't do anything about it but lean into it, and that's what he does. And it actually works for him because people tune in to see him lose, whether he does or not. They're getting the seat, same way a lot of people like the way Conor McGregor behaves. Like they sit down to watch him lose, and when it doesn't happen, they keep coming back for more. They're like, it has to happen this time, has to happen this time. And who better to satisfy their thirst for poor Greg Hardy's chin than Tai Tuivasa? Oh my God!
I love him.
Was a beer up there while he's on the cage celebrating. Like, how did they get that out? And I'm like, oh, at first I thought it was his shoe, but then I was like, wait, no, that's a Nike.
Yeah, no,
That's a Nike. That's not his shoe. That's not his shoe. It was so epic. So yeah, like
amazing.
people, unfortunately, it's taken me a while to understand this, but we do need those types of athletes in a sport like MMA to make it more exciting and make those moments so incredible, make those moments so epic. And when Ronda Rousey started turning heel, started being a little cocky, started saying she'd outbox Mayweather, when that was right before Holly Holm put her to sleep. And when she knocked her out, dude, the bar that I was at, it went crazy. And it's all because Ronda Rousey started leaning into this like bad person, this bad girl character, and people started like really caring whether she won or lost. It wasn't just like, oh, she's great, I want to see her keep going to the top. They're like, this bitch, I want to see her lose, and I want to see her lose bad. And they would tune in every time just to see it happen, even though they knew it wasn't going to happen. And then it happened, and then everyone went crazy. So you need people like that in the sport to make it more enticing. And it was a really cool moment when we watched that happen. So they're definitely going to keep Greg Hardy around. I had no inkling that he would get cut after that performance. He wobbled Tai like 2 seconds before he knocked him out. So it's not like he was bad. Right. He just came in, he rushed in, trying to get the kill, and made a big mistake. He would probably try not to make that in the future. It's heavyweight. Anyone gets knocked out. So yeah, I thought it was a decent performance. But I am happy Tai won because he's just like a really awesome person.
Yeah, I love Tai Tuivasa too, and he was on his own losing skid for a while. And look, thank God they kept him. I mean, because same thing. He's got big personality. He's a guy that you want to watch every time. And even when he was losing, you were like, this time he's going to turn it around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that guy. He's great. He's great. You said a couple of things where you're saying they need people like us. I believe Conor even tweeted that out today. That was his tweet. MMA needs people like me or fighters like me or something like that. So yes, we need those villains. And but exactly that is the reason why I think Colby has been quiet, because Colby's whole shtick was predicated on Trump, and with Trump not in office, the villainy of Colby was based on him, you know what I mean, trying to be sort of this proxy Trump guy, right? So without that there, people aren't as invested in Colby because, yes, he's a very, very good fighter. But as you were saying before, he doesn't really knock people out. His style isn't really one that makes you go, oh, crap, I got to see the Colby Covington fight because of the Colby Covington techniques. It's because, you watched to see him win or lose, deciding, depending on where you fell in the fan base. So, I think Greg is always going to have to be that villain. And like you said, he leans into it. But yeah, offhand, I mean, off camera or whatever, he's been nothing but really totally professional and great. And I don't have a reason to say anything bad about the guy, so, I really don't. So, hey, so how about the Sugar Sean fight though? Was insane. Those two guys got fight of the night. I did do my after the facts video, so you can hear about, and Sugar Sean set all kinds of records, like all kinds of striking, significant strikes landed records, the greatest strike differential record, the most, knockouts or whatever, tied for fourth in the bantamweight division. Then he did that, like dude went insane. Like he, out of the top 5 rounds of like the most significant strikes ever landed in a round in a bantamweight fight, Sean now owns 3 of the top 5. Wow. From that one fight.
That's insane. Well, that's what happens when you have someone just moving forward on you the entire time and not throwing anything.
And not moving their head.
All right. We there should be a separate set of stats for the guy who absorbed that much damage. Because come on, like who can absorb that much significant strikes and not get put down? Like that's insane. He just kept walking forward, he kept taking damage. I feel like he was just trying to get in and land that one shot. He knew if he could get in, if he could just corner Sugar Sean and like land that one shot, could maybe steal the fight. So like that's the only thing I could think his game plan would be, because of the way he was fighting. He was just walking forward and not really throwing anything, not moving his head. Every now and then he'd throw a little flurry, but he was just trying to pin him in a corner, but he wasn't shooting on him. It was so insane. It was so insane. Just watching it, I was just like, what is this guy doing? But also, this guy is so friggin' tough. And it almost looked like it was disturbing Sean O'Malley. Like he looked a bit disturbed. Like he said in between rounds, like I'm sure he knew he was winning pretty soundly, but in between rounds he was just like what the fuck is wrong with this kid?
He said something about that, like in the post-fight thing. I guess he said, like, at one point Kris was talking to him and said, "You're tired," or whatever. And Sean was like, "Yeah, I'm tired, bro." But, it's because he was throwing so many punches at him. But he said in it, he's like, "I can't believe how tough this guy is. Like, he took it on 11 days notice and he just kept coming. Like, what the hell?" Because all of us were like, what is this dude made of? What is he made of? But I did say to Max, I said, the one thing that's upsetting me in this fight, I said, it was all about the head movement. Like you mentioned, I'm like, didn't he do the day one drill at the boxing gym with the string and the head, because I was like, I just wanted him to move his head because it was just so there the whole time. And Sean had the reach advantage too and all that. And I was like, dude, move your head. Yeah. But the one thing I will say on this is,
I think he just gave up on it. I think maybe in the first round he tried it a little bit and Sean was just too fast.
Yeah.
Like he just couldn't move out the way in time. He's just like, like sometimes that happens. You're fighting someone, you realize like you don't see the punch coming before you get hit.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna walk forward and keep my chin down and,
Hope for
and
the
just try to
best.
punch them as they punch me. Like maybe that's the answer. Maybe I'll just get punched so I can land punches. At least I'll know where they are. At least I'll know that they're about to throw a punch because I
Yeah.
got hit. Like is sometimes sometimes you have to improvise. And when you don't have the speed advantage, you don't have the reach advantage, maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I
I
don't
don't know.
know. Like that wouldn't have been my answer, but that was his, and it got him extra money. It got him
Yes.
75K extra, so good for him.
So good for him.
I think that guy made so many. It's one of those fights though where you make so many fans
Uh-huh.
by losing
Yeah.
in the way that he did. Like it was such an epic display of just like, I don't care about my chinness.
Right. Right.
I don't care about your punches. I'm gonna walk you down. I have cardio for days. Like I would love to see this guy with fight camp
With the real
against
camp.
someone who isn't, on the up and up. Like maybe someone who's like also just getting into the UFC, so we can really
Mhm.
see what this kid's made of.
Yeah.
Because I do think that I just checked out his Tapology before he fought and saw that he had a couple like knockout losses. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh well, this guy's gonna get knocked out because Sugar Sean, that's what he does. But he just walked through everything, so
Yeah.
he's definitely like a different kind of tough, and you can even see it in the face off. So it was an impressive way to lose, but also like Sean did everything he could to try to put him away before he did.
Yeah. I mean, it may have taken some shaved off a few months of the kid's life. But I
Oh
think it's going to add to his bank account because if you want to, I agree, that's the best way to lose. And he made a statement like that on a freaking Conor card that had all the eyeballs on it. So he
yeah,
took, other than winning the fight, he had a best case scenario loss because at the end it
yeah,
also got waved off. So he can even say,
mhm.
I wasn't done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And I did feel bad for him for getting the fight stop just
yeah,
because he was making such a statement by continuing to walk forward.
yeah,
And who knows how hard Sean was hitting him at that point because he was so tired from
yeah,
landing so much.
yeah,
Like people don't realize when you're winning, that's almost more exhausting than when it's an even match.
yeah.
Just because you throw on so much and
Everything
the
to
other
just
person
yeah,
is just absorbing. If you're not hitting them with good body shots, then like the head can almost take more damage than the body, and the head just is stupid to quit sometimes. So
yeah,
yeah, I almost felt bad for him that it got called off,
yeah,
but I do understand why. Um, yeah, I
yeah.
would have let it go if I
I know, I
was
know. Oh well.
over
Hey, so
there
listen,
with
so
Maserati.
yeah, no, it would have been cool to let it go, I think too. But at the same time, we got to remember they are there to protect the fighters and let you guys fight another day.
For
And
sure.
that was a lot of damage. It was a lot of
Yeah,
damage. It was a lot. Okay, so we have
yeah,
about like 17 minutes left or something, and there's a couple of topics I want to get to because with the Aldana Kunitskaya fight, Aldana is coming off the loss to Holly Holm, and she was frustrated with that performance in that fight and really wanted to do better. And she came in and did not make weight, and she said that she didn't make weight because she got her period this week. And I don't even necessarily want to talk about the fight so much. I thought it was a good performance from her. Yana's a real tough girl. Yana's like can grind. Like that girl's just hard to get rid of.
mhm,
And so, but for you, and especially since this is a podcast that women are hosting it and stuff, like how, obviously we know the story with young gymnasts that they don't even get it anymore because they were young or anyway when they trained and their bodies
mhm.
are whatever. So how much of a factor has that been in your career, even if you want, I don't, you don't have to get personal, but like when Mick or when they call you, do you like look at the calendar and be like, ooh, bad week, like how about no, not that week, because it is going to help hurt you in cutting weight, your mood, all, like we
Mm,
know it's just a freaking fact, it's going to make things more
mm.
difficult.
I've been lucky where that's never been an issue for me,
Yeah.
and maybe it's because when I first started fighting, I felt like almost every time I was about to cut weight, I was on my period.
Mm.
So maybe I just, in a backwards way, was lucky because I was able to plan accordingly. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really have the luxury of cutting weight when I wasn't on my period.
Yeah.
So I always had to do that. I always had to cut a little extra or just
Right.
plan, be very disciplined with my weight cuts, even when I was cut into like 106.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, I would just have to be just very strict with my diet. I had to be very strict with like the amount of cardio that I was doing
Yeah.
up until the fight. And so, whenever there's a woman who's cutting more than, say, 10 pounds, because I don't cut more than 10 pounds
Right.
the week of, but when you have people who are cutting more than that, you have to be very strict. Like, you can't take short notice fights. You have to plan, like, give yourself maybe a 6 week plan.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this week I'm only eating this amount of carbs. This week I'm only eating this amount of calories. This week
That
I have to make
sucks.
sure I drink this much water. Like, everything factors in. I can't have any salt after Monday. Everything factors in. So if you know that you have a hard weight cut, you almost have to plan as if you're cutting to 130 instead of
Right.
135,
Yeah.
or
Plan for the
120
extra.
instead of 125, because you know how hard that weight cut's going to be, and how much difference the period will make that last pound or two. So
Huh.
I've never had issues with it, just because I've never cut a ton of weight outside of my Muay Thai career. Like, I've
Yeah.
always been a small 115er.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, it never feels like a good excuse for me. Like, I always feel like you can either move up or just plan
We're
accordingly.
planning
But
for it.
it was
Yeah.
her first time missing, so I also feel
Yes.
like that's different. Like,
Yep.
missing weight is a learning experience in itself. It's like
Right.
a scared straight kind of thing. You
Right.
realize that you can't fuck around. You can't, like,
Right.
eat that little piece of donut, or you can't have like
Yeah.
a little salt in your eggs, or you can't have like a piece of chocolate after
Yeah. Right.
it's
Right.
like
Right.
little stuff that'll bloat you up, that'll make you retain water. um and you have to realize that all this is very important in order for your weight cut to go smoothly. And it's
Yeah.
always an experiment too. Like,
Yeah.
it's once you get it down to a science, it's really nice, but every now and then it's a little harder or a little easier.
Yeah.
And it sucks when it's harder, because you're like, fuck, I thought I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And, like, I have, despite the fact that I don't cut that much, I have had hard weight cuts where, like, I passed out,
Oh
or
my God,
where
that
I just felt
sucks.
crap. I couldn't sleep, or I couldn't put the weight back on the next day.
Yeah.
So I have had bad weight cuts. But it's less likely when you're not cutting as much.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much Aldana cuts, but if it's usually, once you get up to those higher weight classes, it's usually more than like 15 or 20
Yeah.
pounds, and it gets
Yeah.
really tough. And once you get down to those last like 4 pounds, if
Hmm.
you stop sweating, then you're not gonna make it.
Right.
And she
Right.
stopped
Right.
sweating at like 5 pounds out, so it was just like, okay, you're not making it.
That's tough.
And
Yeah.
it's really a learning experience the first time, and I feel like she seemed really upset about it, and she
Oh
won't do
yeah.
it again. But time will tell. We've had multiple offenders who just kept weighing in a little over, and no one says anything because they keep winning, and
Yep.
then nobody cares, and they end up having like a career built on missing weight and fighting smaller opponents. So I think Aldana is better
She's
than
not
that.
that
I don't
girl.
think she'll do that. I think she'll take it seriously, and
Yeah.
if she does miss again, I bet she'd go up in weight just so she can be more healthy. But yeah, it is an issue, and I think when you're not used to cutting weight on your period, then it can surprise you how much of a difference it is.
Well, yeah, I don't think she's the type that it's going to become habitual. I'd be very surprised. She doesn't straighten,
Yeah, for
no,
sure.
I don't think so. Okay, so I'm curious. I'm curious what your take is out of these two fights. Which one was more interesting to you? Nico Price versus Michel Pereira, or the Ilia Topuria Ryan Hall fight? which one of those was like more interesting to you? Because Ryan Hall is the wizard jiu-jitsu guy with the funky weird kicks, and Ilia is actually a jiu-jitsu black belt as well, and had no respect for Ryan leading into this fight, and and basically proved that he knew how to figure out the puzzle, and was able to smash him and kind of in Ryan's guard, and knocked him out. And the Pereira fight was wild because we know you put two guys in there, Nico and him. Like those were the other two candidates for fight of the night, certainly, where maybe you're going to see the craziest techniques, you're going to see some wild techniques, you're going to see some sloppy techniques, but you're going to see a really fun fight. So I don't know what like stood out to you the most.
Man, well, they were both great for their own reasons, but I was really upset because I really love Nico Price, and I was really upset that backflip into what happened, and he got cut from it, and nothing was said. Like I feel like he should have. And part of it is because Nico's like, "All right, let's go." Like he didn't go, "Oh, my head." You stomped me. He like part of that is the reason why they didn't get stopped. But at the same time, I felt like the ref should have stepped in and just been like, "Hey, you okay? All right, hey, no, don't do that," or I don't know, take a point or something. I don't know. I felt like it was illegal, and even though it looked really cool, I felt like something should have been said because it was a stomp to the head of a grounded opponent. Like that's crazy. But aside from that, it was a great fight. It was really exciting. I felt like the right person won, even though I thought Nico could have stolen it. Just maybe won like 30 seconds more of the second round.
Yeah.
I felt like Nico would have had to fight. It was so close. It sucks that it was so close, and I was rooting for Nico, but it was a great fight, and hopefully they get a little extra money too, because that was insane. It was a great one. But then also on the other side you have Ryan Hall, who everyone was avoiding. Nobody wanted to fight, and I'm not even familiar with the guy that knocked him out, but that was insane. I'm gonna be a fan now. I'm gonna go watch all his tape.
He was over on Fight Island.
Because that was really cool. I was like,
no, he was over on Fight Island too. He and Giga Chikadze were on the same card. They're both from Georgia, and that was a night that the first time two Georgians had won on the same card. I know I was working, that night. But so Ilia was the first black belt, I guess, in Georgia. He and his brother are both fighters over there. But Ryan trains with our buddy Kenny Florian and all this, and Ryan, is dangerous. But it was almost like Ilia just went in there and like like that bad attitude. It just was like, didn't give any Fs and just went for it. It was smart and tactical.
And it was really weird how Ryan Hall just kept doing that weird like limp over, like when it reminded me of when you pretend to be dead in the pool. The dead man float. Like he just kept doing that, like, whoa, I'm falling over. Oh, I got your leg. And I was hoping, because I love to see like crazy jiu-jitsu aces do their thing too. I'm not just a stush striker only fan anymore. But I really wish that he just tried to set it up in a different way, because he has kicks. He knows how to strike. He could have done all sorts of other cool stuff in order to get to those leg locks positions, and just do it in maybe a more conventional way when his weird like flop over wasn't really working. So I was a little annoyed with that, because I'm like, like you can fight him regular and still hide the leg attack, like just go like that. Go like that first, and then dive in for the legs. So he's just kind of like every time, and his just had his number. But it was really cool to see like just the way that he was able to nail him with that punch. There's like a weird knockout button that I've noticed, and it's people don't really talk about it, but whenever you see someone punch the top of the head and their head goes like this, whoop, like that really, I feel like that really rattles the brain. And you
Yeah.
see it a lot with kick knockouts where it
Mhm.
doesn't land on the chin or the face, but it lands the top of the head and makes the head go,
Maybe
and
yeah.
yeah, just like a whoop whoop. And that was the first punch he landed on the. It was just like top of the head, boop boop, and then the rest were just like right in the middle of the face, and just really it was really one of those gross knockouts to watch. It was really entertaining.
Well, and I agree with you too that Ryan was doing. It kept reminding me of that kind of the drunken master type fighting, right? Where you kind of bait them in,
yes.
And so yeah, there was a couple of times where I thought, is Ryan knocked out? Because he did look like Ilia landed a couple of things, and it looked like Ryan was knocked out a couple times. And so I was like, what is happening? Oh no, he's fine, and then he's just going for another leg lock or whatever. Okay, so it was confusing. It was confusing, and I was trying to, like I said, I had Max with me, and he knows a lot about boxing and everything. But so like it's when you're trying to explain, some of this stuff, and he's asking me some stuff, and like some of this stuff, I was like, dude, I can't even explain what's like. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on right now, But
it's chaos.
In theory, you know what I mean, is what I would say or whatever, and stuff like that. But yeah, I like Ryan. I know, now a lot of people are going to pile on to him and maybe give him grief, but I I'm never happy when like, oh, that dude got knocked out. But it is interesting that somebody, figured out how to beat him. So good for Ilia. And yeah, and the Nico fight, like I kind of thought he could have maybe stolen that second round, like you're saying. Like to me, I would not have been surprised if that had been a split decision. But yeah, so Pereira got it though. But all right, well, we should probably wrap it up here. There was a lot to talk about, obviously. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, and tell your friends. And we're on episode like 24 now, so
24. Wow,
I know,
doing it big. Hey,
so people can go back to. There's a whole that means there's a bunch of other episodes that you guys can check out. But yeah, so on Instagram, I'm KB Heat. Over on Twitter, Karyn Bryant, Karyn Bryant, as in Kobe, no relation, but may he rest in peace. Angela, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at NG Overkill, and you can find me on TikTok at Overkill Hill.
Okay.
Oh,
and we are we're also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio, folks. See you next time.